This is the Acura TSX, and it marked the end of an era of massive success and truly enthusiast-oriented cars that Acura created in the 2000s. The first generation TSX and the 2004 to 2008 TL were so wildly popular that customers from the big three were flocking to Acura dealers to pick one up. And yes, I'm talking about BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi. The TL had such a groundbreaking design, and it's still my favorite Acura design to this day. My next door neighbor had one, and as a little kid, it was my absolute dream car. 2009, however, was a bit of a turning point for Acura, and not in a good way. The redesigned 2009 Acura TSX and TL introduced new design language that really didn't sit well with most buyers, and the sales numbers showed. The infamous Acura beak was born, and it really just didn't look good. The new TSX, however, had a safe but stylish sporty appearance and certainly looked a whole lot better than the new TL did. Despite its not so attractive front end, the car still had sporty driving characteristics like the previous car, and this was during Acura's heyday of making sporty, engaging, enthusiast-oriented cars. Acura really caught wind of people's hatred for that front end, so in 2012 they refreshed the front end significantly, which you can see here. So let's jump into this review. Let's get into the design. Starting with the grille, this is the toned down Acura beak that now kind of turned into the Acura shield. I think it works well for the car, but even with the tweak, a lot of people still weren't happy. This car has fog lights, which nowadays it seems like fewer cars are coming with them. As all Acuras do, it's got that crease in the center of the hood that comes right down to that Acura logo, which if you didn't know is a caliper, and that is meant to represent precision or accuracy. Acura. You get it now? The front also features some pretty bright HID headlights that look great at night. Turning to the side of the car, Acura did a great job incorporating continuity into the design with this pronounced belt line that blends through the front wheel arch and into the front bumper, and also straight to the back and seamlessly blending into the trunk. This sharp belt line, along with the shape of the trunk lid, gives this car somewhat of an angular appearance and even takes some styling cues from that beloved 04 TL. We have a 17-inch machine-finished alloy wheel. The design is pretty simple and basic. They work for the car, but I think Acura could have done better. This is riding on 225/50/17 tires. You get some nice chrome accents on the window trim and door handles, and along the trunk between the taillights. That shield shape is also present back here around the license plate. The taillights also have an angular shape to them, and this just gives the car an overall chiseled look. You have nice dual chrome-tipped exhausts at the bottom, and they have a really nice sound while the car is idling. Taking a look under the hood here is a 2.4-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, putting out 201 horsepower and 172 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 takes roughly 7.7 seconds, and that's delivered by a 5-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy ratings are combined 25 miles per gallon, that's 22 city and 31 highway, and the capacity of the fuel tank is 18.5 gallons. On the inside of the car is where Acura's identity crisis comes into play. Let's start with the screen. Yikes. 2012 wasn't that long ago, and car technology was pretty advanced by this point. As you can see here, this screen isn't even a color display, it's literally a digital clock. This is a quote-unquote luxury car from the modern era with no backup camera or even an actual display. And to make matters worse, that screen was taken straight out of a base model Honda Accord. You can see the screen doesn't do a whole lot. It'll show you your radio station, some basic clock and audio settings, and if you have your phone connected for music, it'll display title information that's barely legible. So in other words, it's a clock. Another thing that brings luxuriousness into question is some of the materials being used in here. So along the top of the dashboard and door panels, this is technically a soft touch material, but the best way I can describe the texture of it is that it literally feels like styrofoam. It's weird and I don't like it. Also down below is this strange plastic trim that's trying to look like metal, but it's clearly not. The leather in the car, however, is very soft and it feels good. It's also on the steering wheel and it elevates the driving experience. The only real features in here from the modern era are Bluetooth calling and audio and memory driver seat, for what it's worth. There are several little compartments for storage in the front, glove box is a decent size, and the center console can fit 5 million wires in it, as you can see here. This wood grain here in the center is clearly fake, but I actually don't mind the look of it. Alright, so I'm 6 feet tall. I have the driver's seat adjusted for myself, sitting in the back here, and unfortunately, if you're even just a little bit tall, this is not going to be a place where you want to spend too much time. The legroom is rated at 34.3 inches, but it definitely feels like much less. It's a shame because the seats are quite comfortable. I think even more comfortable than newer Acuras. You get pockets behind both seats and some air vents in the middle. Time to take this for a spin. So let's talk about the ride quality. Now the ride on a smooth surface, it's nice, it's pleasant. The suspension, however, can be a bit harsh, especially when hitting potholes or bumps in the road. It's very stiff, and when you do hit a pothole or a bump, there isn't much give to it. So you really feel those bumps hard. And with the amount of bumps and potholes this thing has hit while driving around in New Jersey, to me it's a miracle that this car has not had a broken spring or control arm or anything like that. Now, as great as this car is for city driving, the only drawback of it is that you get a lot of road noise in this cabin. I guess it's not that heavily insulated, but even driving through city, there's a good amount of road noise, and on the highway, it's just, you really hear it. And now it's time for my favorite part of the test, the acceleration. We got a K24 engine with VTEC, so you know this is gonna be a good time. And of course, as always, I'm gonna throw it into sport mode. All right, I got no one behind me, so I'm going to slow down to a stop and let's go. Now, the thing that's interesting with this engine and transmission is that when you're first ready to go from a stop, the car is really trigger happy and it's ready to just pounce. Basically, you have to put your foot real gently on the gas in order to have a smooth, gentle start. Otherwise, it's just gonna launch. But once it does launch, it is kind of slow to get up to speed. And it's this really strange kind of oxymoron where you can really feel the power behind it. It's got great power, but that does not translate into acceleration power. Now, when you're just driving the car in regular city driving, it's a fun car. For just basic moves on a city street like this, it has plenty of power, but once you go into a highway scenario, it underperforms. But if you're just a local commuter driver, like I am most of the time, I mean, this thing is fun. All right, so we're gonna give the acceleration one more try, and this time we're gonna use the paddle shifters. All right. You can hear that classic VTEC crossover. Oh, it just sounds amazing. So in sport mode with the paddles, it certainly sounds a whole lot better, and you can feel a bit more boost with the quicker shifts, but overall, in terms of the actual speed of the acceleration, it doesn't change a whole lot from just the transmission as is. So that was a sample of the audio. This is a 7-speaker system, and it's got a really strong subwoofer out in the back, and the system just has a lot of power. It's a little bit bass heavy, but that can easily be changed in the settings. But I really love the way it sounds just the way it is. This is also the bass system. So if you were to get this car with the technology package, you would be getting a better sound system with more speakers. All right, you already know what time it is. Steering and handling, let's go. Wow. Oh, it's so playful, it's so engaging. Now for a Honda, I think the steering is just a little bit light, but still very controlled and very direct. I love throwing this in the corners. So this is gonna wrap up the test drive of the 2012 TSX. It truly is an interesting car. And the older this car gets, the harder it is it's gonna be to find. So if you can find one nowadays for a good price, consider yourself lucky. Especially one in such great condition like this one. Now this has been owned since it was new in 2012, but it's been well maintained. And if you like this video and you're interested in the TSX, definitely check out your local Acura, look around online. You might be able to get a better deal off a private seller than at a dealership. But definitely look into it. They truly just don't make them like they used to. The sporty personality of this TSX is something I always look forward to when I drive this thing. Acuras hold their value remarkably well, so a TSX is a sound investment. TSXs with 80,000 miles like this one are selling right now for roughly $15,000. Pretty impressive considering it was worth $30,000 brand new 11 years ago. Acceleration is adequate, but the VTEC engine makes it quite fun. It is aged gracefully and doesn't look like an old car, and of course, looks are subjective. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and tell me your thoughts on the TSX down in the comments. And subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to see more reviews like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.